Hello and welcome to the Heroes Word. I'm Andre Greenidge of Heroes World, and today I am joined by two guests, one that I know and one that I've just met. This is Howard Wong and Josh Stafford of the horror hit Damn Cursed Children. Say hello, guys.
Hey there, Andre. Hey,
Hello.
everybody.
All right, and we are going to talk about your latest book that just came out in trade paperback, and that's Damn Cursed Children. So, I guess first up is a little introduction. Howard, can you tell the folks that are watching a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I started out at Image Comics. I mean, it sounds kind of weird that my first published work is at Image Comics with After the Cape. Did two miniseries there, did well, sold out, got nominated for a Joe Shuster, which I just brain farted which award it was for, but I think it was for writing. I hope so.
Best Howard ever.
Yes, exactly. It's a little early. I mean, I'll say what I did. I did anthologies here and there. I work in mobile games, animation, toys. I worked for Bandai. I worked for 3-0 doing stuff like something called Full Metal Ghost. You want to look that up. That was actually done by Kuno-san, who's the mech designer of Gundam, like from the first one until, well, now, I think, as well as things like, Gatchaman's. For us, it's Battle of the Planets, enemy vehicle stuff and whatnot, which is really cool. As of late, I did stuff with Bungie, which I can't talk about, but it does with story stuff. I guess that's safe to say. The story development, so very early in the design of stuff. As in what else am I doing? Doing stuff for Nat Geo, which again I can't really talk about, but it has something to do with some things under the sea. Which I think is pretty safe to say. It's pretty broad, and I could be safe saying that.
So pretty much, you're a jack of all trades. You've got a little bit of everything under your belt so far.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I guess I can't focus. I guess it might be the way to say it. It's almost like my collection behind me. You see, there's like everything from the Japanese stuff to North American stuff of toys and whatnot. So kind of embodies who I am. Josh is more interesting, I think.
All right, Josh.
Howard's more productive in the writing end. I've written a handful of stuff. A few years ago, I stumbled into writing kind of comedic horror called Zomkies for Winter Star, which is an Ottawa-based publisher. I've done 3 issues of that, and I'm slowly creeping my way towards doing a 4th issue of that. Then the last year during pandemic has been very productive. Besides for Damn Cursed Children, which was a long time coming. I have a short in a really great anthology called Flip, which is available everywhere right now. A little before that, I got a digital comic in Strange Romance, and I stumbled into getting a story credit on an episode of DC Superhero Girls called #FlashForwardFlashback. And that's really a nerd dream come true that I've got to work on a cartoon with the Flash in it. So that's was pretty fun. And my day job is I co-own a 1932 single screen theater called the Mayfair here in Ottawa that we've been back open for about a month now in these weird, not quite post-pandemic times. So that's been eating up all of my time and keeping me away from working on some other little things that Howard and I are trying to work on again.
Very cool. All right. So you said Damn Cursed Children was a long time in coming. So why don't we go over kind of the initial, shall we say, the bud of that idea and how it came to the page?
I blame Josh for that, actually.
Your illness is thanks to that.
Then we have to thank my children way back in the day when my kids were in daycare. And anyone who has children know this. They bring back everything from daycare. So my wife and I were sick like constantly for months on end, to the point where the doctor would not give us any more antibiotics because they're afraid that we would get used to them and not be effective. So Josh, of course, calls me up one day during those times where I was like sick yet again, or continuing being sick, and asked, it wasn't asking me how I was, or, are you dying? It's more like, so you going to Fan Expo? I'm here like things coming out of every orifice and shit. I'm like, I think so. If I'm alive, sure. You want to come? I was like, yeah. I'm like, all right, you can help me out at my table because I'll probably be dead and like this anyways. And then he's like, are you sick? I'm like, I think. Are you still sick or are you sick again? I'm like, I think both, possibly. And he's like, is it because of your kids? I'm like, yeah. And then he uttered, hey, go ahead. You can utter it. You're here.
damn cursed children. And I like that because it's like, whether it's writing or an invention or, like sometimes ideas just happen by mistake. And so then I told Howard, I was like, there, you should write that. And Howard was too ill and had many other assignments. So he said, oh, you should try to put something together. So I put a little something together, gave it to Howard. Howard worked on it. Then we went back and forth on it. And then, a short decade or so later, it's an overnight success story. So it's, but that's very comic books. Like, I think the when someone gets their comic published is because they worked really hard on it, because it's not something you can just, submit to one publisher and then go, oh, nope, we don't want it. You gotta keep going.
Exactly, because we finished it it took us a while. We didn't take it even the decade, is because most publishers said, we love this. This is great art. We love the idea, but we're not publishing this. And the reason why is because it wasn't part of their wheelhouse. So, those who have read it now or have seen or read comments or reviews about it sort of have an idea what it's about now. So you can imagine which publishers that we went to and said no. Like, I knew in the bottom of my heart, they probably would say no, but you never know. Maybe they're going towards a different direction. So, now that it's out, the publishers and editors who are still in the industry who I've shown this to, they're like, is this the thing that you showed me? Like, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you got it out. I'm buying it right now because it's like something I remember about it, because it was just so off kiltered that, they remember it. So it took us a while to find a publisher. And it was sort of that. It's sort of like what Josh did with me. It wasn't like purposely I pitched this to SourcePoint Press. I was asked after one of the fan expos, and I was, I think the first night, which is the long night, which nobody likes doing because it's so long. So it was like having dinner at 8, 9 o'clock at night, trying to have dinner. So my dinner came, and then I was asked to meet Travis from SourcePoint Press. And I was like, who's Travis? What's SourcePoint Press? I didn't even know who they were at that point. I was really tired. So because friends said I should meet them, like, fine. I trust you enough to not eat. I didn't even take a bite of my burger. And I went and I met Travis, and we hit it off. And we talked. We didn't talk about dumb stuff. We talked about legitly industry stuff, but we knew that we were in the same wavelength. So then he asked, like, anything to pitch? I'm like, I have something that everybody was too chicken shit to pitch. You want to hear that? Because I was just honestly joking. And I told him why people didn't want to do Damn Cursed Children. And he literally looked at me. He's like, screw it. We'll do it. And that was it. And we got a contract right after Fan Expo was done. He literally legitly emailed me their contract, make sure everything was, cool. And here we are. So yeah, you never know when things happen. Like, I told Josh, and I was like, you remember that project that I said that I promised to get a publisher? Yeah, I'm good at that now. I'll take it later. I may do. Here's the contract.
Nice. Okay, so now that you've kind of teased everybody with the origin story, let's get a brief synopsis of what the book is about, so that you can entice the viewers who may not have picked up their copies yet, and they know that they can now pick up their copies at Heroes World. So let's hear a summary or brief synopsis, the hook, the pitch.
Go for it, Josh.
So our opening scene is in a daycare center, just an average day for the teacher there. She hears a weird sound and looks outside and is witness to just a world gone mad with car crashes and people running for their lives and explosions and fire. And what the disaster is coming from is that inexplicably every child has become a rampaging monster. And she turns over her shoulder, and her room of a dozen sleeping, peaceful, adorable children are now dead-eyed, ferocious monsters. And then, bam, we're in it. So 3 pages in, we're into full-blown action. And then as the story unfolds, it's a group of strangers come together, George A. Romero style, to try to survive in this bizarre world that they're in. And in our 5 issues, it's a day in the life story that has a beginning, middle, and an end. So you have the full story in this now trade.
Very, very cool. So that's definitely going to be right up some people's alley. All right. So you mentioned like Romero style. So who are some of your influences behind coming up for the style of the book, the tone of the book and stuff? It can be comic book influences, writer influence, film influences. So let's talk a bit about those. I'll go to Howard first.
Wow. It was really weird because the black and white, the book is in black and white. I know the cover's in color. It was Robin Simon Ng, who's the artist for the book, and fabulous artist I found way back in the day during my Image days, who unfortunately had a baby during the time when he was greenlit to do After the Cape 2, Volume 2. So he couldn't do it. So, but we kept in contact, obviously, because I loved his art. He penciled it and he inked it for the pitch, and they liked it so much in black and white that they're like, you don't have to color this. We can just go to print. And I was like, great, because that'll speed up production because we waited too long.
Just another happy accident.
Right. And I was like, but would people buy a black and white comic book? And I thought about like the old school comic books, the EC comic books, the old school Marvel, like Werewolf by Night, you know, all those wonderful things that you don't think about consciously when that happens. It's like, again, it's like happy accident. I'm like, this might work because that ties into that, which led to that for that stylistic stuff. For the story wise, I was really enthralled by the people in it. So I asked those questions like, you know, if I was this father here of a child who just turned into this crazy feral monster who wants to eat me and kill me, what would I do? How far would I go to protect my wife? Would I go to town on my own kid or other kids? Or would I just lay down and just let them do their thing? So psychologically, I was, you know, that aspect, the psychological part was where I focused on. I really like that, you know, how far do we push these people? And then when we push them past that, you know, that line that none of us think we would cross and they cross it, that's where I was really excited about, like, how would we make that play out? Like, would they just be okay with all this? Because that's like, some people will not, some people will. And that's what I liked about it. I was like, how far would I go? How far would Josh go? And, you know, it's like you're thinking of different people you know in the world. Like, how far would that person go? I'm like, oh, he would just go to town. You know? So that was the aspect of that. The other thing was, weirdly enough, Star Wars. I'm a bit of a Star Wars geek, as some people know. And I literally thought about Ewoks and what happens if they were actually not friendly, but all evil and cannibalistic, you know, and just basically ate it. Anyone who came to the planet, they just ate them. They would kill them and eat them. So instead of just beating up the stormtroopers, they were eating them. So that's what I thought about too. And I was like, that is kind of creepy and awesome. So if these kids actually ate everybody, that'd be wicked. So that's what the influences for the story. So I wasn't like looking at writers or specific artists, but influences from there, and also horror films from Asia, actually, what I grew up watching, from Hong Kong, from Thailand. The Thailand horror stuff. If you're into horror, you look up any Thailand horror genre film, you're in for a ride. It's a rabbit hole. You will go deep. And it never ends because it's completely over the top crazy shit. Hong Kong is not as crazy. It's more psychological, I guess. Japan is really good too. As you guys know, just because they basically brought over the Ring and stuff like that. So you can imagine, I grew up watching that when I was probably like starting around 10, 11, because my dad would just rent things that there's no rating in Asia and family. It's like, you know, hey, it's a John Woo film, watch it. You know, it's like, I'm a little too young. Oh, look, he just blew off his head. You know, but you don't consciously think that because you're a kid and your dad was okay bringing it. So I watched all this stuff growing up and I thought it was normal until I grew up and go, this was not normal, because none of my friends watched this stuff until like in high school. But I'm like, yeah, that's, you know, whatever. This is a special effect because, you know, this is how they do it, whatever. Watch this, he's gonna lock up his hand and boom, and it goes off, and people, how'd you know that? Because I grew up watching this stuff. So that's where all my influences combined into whatever, you know, my mindset for writing this. Josh has definitely a different take on that for sure.
Yeah, well, it takes into account Howard's very good script notes of that, of trying to keep it real and have some realism to it. Because like I love Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell in Army of Darkness, but it wasn't until doing an interview months ago where I kind of went, oh my God, we don't have a single catchphrase or wink at the audience or kind of Ash moment, which is staggering because you think I would have put 50 of those in there. So there really is this real world element to it. There's still lots of fun and action and cool characters. So it's not a real obscure answer, but for me, it's George A. Romero and Stephen King are a big influence, because George A. Romero with that Night of the Living Dead archetype of a bunch of people in a house surviving something insane. And Stephen King, you look at The Stand, where same thing. It's a bunch of people, everyday people, more or less. And then Children of the Corn and stuff like that. So both those writers are really good at doing that normal people in a bizarrely realistic kind of surrounding, even though it's something insane like vampires or an evil dog or ghosts or whatever. So those are the two influences directly for me if you're pointing at something like that.
Very cool. And I like that you mentioned like these film influences, and obviously you own a theater. So are you guys planning or hoping or wanting, or in the back of your mind thinking that maybe this is going to be in another form other than just the print version?
Yes. I am ready to sell out. I am ready. I will take your money. I will let you change the script and ruin it. I will.
Absolutely. We're open to like all mediums, completely. So, come with your pitches and, and your ideas, because we're open for this, because we're as you mentioned, Josh is into film. I'm into like different things. So we're not locked into this is only a comic book only. No, we would love to see this in other mediums and see how people translate it, to be honest, because for me and Josh, it'd be like another adventure into this world that we built to see where it can go. Right. So it's not like you can't change this. This is the only way this character can be. Like, no, you do whatever, right? I mean, it makes it more interesting. If anything, film, even especially superhero films, have proven that you can change and tweak the evergreen character that everybody knows since forever, and then make it work. So we're open to all of that. So please contact us. Either Josh and I, we are here with.
Just having watched some stuff recently, I think it would work really well as an American anime series, that kind of scary, like some of this stuff, like it's more than R-rated. So I think animation, you would get, I don't know, a bit easier to see the horrible things that happen to children in this comic would be a bit more palatable. But yeah, we had Max Brooks at the cinema a few years back. He just came by. Carleton University had him to come in and do a Q&A, and they did it at the cinema. So it was super fun. So I got to chat with him a bunch, and super nice guy. And he was just very honest about his dealings with World War Z, where he was like, the only thing the same between the movie and my book is that it's on planet Earth and there's zombies in it. That's what he said. He said everything else is different. The character is different. The type of zombies is different. Everything is different. But he was like, I gladly accepted the paycheck, and I will gladly accept the paycheck for the sequel. It put my name out there more and helped me get other projects done. So, like, if that's your worst case scenario, is getting a big paycheck, but they quote unquote ruin your book, I'm like, yeah, I'm good with that too.
That is funny. But I guess it's very a real world view, because realistically, if anybody is going to option your property, they are doing it with an intention in mind. You know what I mean? And obviously, you want to be out there in order to continue doing what you love, whether that is writing or creating new stuff, or maybe you would parlay some of that into your theater business and stuff like that. So
for sure.
If it allows you to do that, then there is going to have to be some concessions, I guess, on both sides and stuff. So that's very interesting. I like that you guys are very open to that, because sometimes a lot of people are like, no, I'm never going to sell out. This is mine. It's got to be this way, right? So that's a very good premise. So let's talk a little bit about kind of current comics and current comic creators. Being as Heroes World is a comic and hobby store, are there any people, artists, writers, inkers, creators that you guys are currently following? Any books that you're reading and liking that we can talk about, so people can kind of get a feel of what you guys are into from other creators?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually need to pick up stuff from your shop, I think. But I haven't read it yet, but I want to start picking up the trades from Heroes World. Something's Killing the Children. I heard so much stuff about it, and it was so hard to not bump into something on social media about it. And I don't mind. Like, people get, so spoiled for me. I'm like, it's my fault. I know that. I could have picked up the singles a million years ago, but I just didn't have the time. and things were a little weird in the world. So I don't mind stuff like that for film, comic books. People get, "Are you mod? Do you care that I just spoil it?" No, I mean, honestly, when I watch stuff, I spoil it for my family as it happened because I kind of see sort of what's going to happen, and I might just blurt it out sometimes. I'm like, "Is this just going to just shoot him? Oh, there he goes." It's like, "What did you do?" Oh, I'm sorry. It's just because that's what I do. But that's something I want to read. I reread actually recently. Black Science. Love that series.
Yep.
If anyone wants to read something, or the first time comic book reader, especially who's not sure what genre they want, it has them all. Like literally all of them. So you can seriously find out which one you like by reading this. So, you definitely can, pick that up. And that's a great series. I love that.
That's Rick Remender, right?
Yes, Rick Remender. Absolutely. Oh my God. Oh, I just brainfarted the artist just right after you says that. Anybody? No?
I can't remember. I can't remember the I know I can picture his art, but can't remember the
Me too.
name. But we'll add it.
No problem. What else am I reading? I was reading old stuff. I was reading because I was cleaning up my long boxes recently because we're doing some mini renos here and they're not, so I'm moving my stuff around. The Superman Secret Identity, which I reread again, which it's crazy when every time I reread that, I always find something new, which is a great series, which for those of you who don't think you want like a Superman book, this is definitely the one to jump into because it's not Superman, but Superman. That's the weirdest pitch I think I can give for that. And if you want to be crazy, you read that with the Red Sun right after, which was just what I did. Because I have them back to back in my box. I'm like, oh, I didn't read this for like decades. I'm like, as I'm reading, I'm like, this is when you read both of them both back to back, it's like completely like you're like, oh, this is nuts. Because people always ask, Superman's been done to death. What can you do?
Yeah.
I'm pulling two amazing trades already from it. And I was like, oh wow, there you go. So I was reading old stuff, then new stuff, and I'm honestly waiting to go and hit your shop and ask, what's out there for stuff, because I am actually looking for stuff like Black Science, where it's like an adventure where I don't know where it's going. Because I hear, there's a lot of new stuff that's out there. I've been following friends' work, Andy Belanger, who started Lethal Comics with Kerry Norton stuff. Like I've known him for since 2007, I think I know them. Yeah, or something like that. So crap, I just aged myself. But I've been following their stuff before Lethal Comics was Lethal Comics and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see.
Mother Trucker just got its second volume, I guess, funded. So the first volume, we have copies of that. Great book, great guys they're creating comics, on their own terms. Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's sort of like I hate, and I know they hate me saying it, but sort of like a mini Image Comics kind of thing back in the day before it became Image Comics. So it's like really they're doing everything. So people who are like they have a team, like the team is each other. So it's Andy, it's Carrie. Oh crap, who else is there? Yeah, it's really in the morning. Who else is this? The third person? Oh my god. You see, I'm gonna hate myself. I'm gonna remember it later and get back to it. But definitely check those guys out, and you can, pick the, as you just heard, you can pick it from Heroes World. This stuff is off-kiltered, weird shit. It's the stuff they always wanted to do. Carrie's stuff is doing folklore. It's not. You gotta just get it. You fund it and read it, because Carrie's art. If you guys people who don't know, he did an amazing run on Conan.
Yeah, fabulous.
With at Dark Horse, and it's beautiful with Stewart on. Oh my god, the colors, because the way they did that, it was like a painting. Each panel was like a painting. It wasn't even like there's no hold line, there was no inking really involved. It was like pencils and colors. And then Kurt Busiek, which is like one of my favorite writers, so it was like such a perfect combination of people. So yeah, now I want to reread that. I have all the singles, which is insane. I'm tempted to read that now that I'm talking about it. So yeah, I'm kind of influenced by all like old stuff than new stuff, because I haven't had time to really read all the new stuff. I mean, I want to get to hit your
still pretty modern. What I guess the guys you talk about. What about you, Josh? Any comic books that you love, or creators that you love and follow?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is for the last 30 years. I read anything by Eric Larson or Grant Morrison or Mike Mignola. So those three guys, I read everything. For kind of more recent stuff, I really thought Gwenpool was really fantastic. Like, came out of nowhere, started as a joke from what I understand, like was just like a random variant cover, and then became this just mind-bending fourth wall, like took Deadpool to the next level, and kind of unlike Deadpool, really had heart and really kind of spoke to this character who was kind of lost and ran away to another world. And so I thought Gwenpool was pretty great. And for real mainstream stuff, again, Star Wars is putting out some really good books. I fell madly in love with Dr. Aphra and think she's the character who could be the next Ahsoka. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Dr. Aphra miniseries in the next couple years on Disney Plus or something. And just a really important character, like really put LGBT stuff into the Star Wars universe, like really front and center. And that's just amazing. And the Darth Vader book is fantastic.
Amazing,
like just taking Anakin to different places, and it's dark and fun and giant battles. And really, I think the biggest compliment to expanded universe stuff like this, that if you read these Darth Vader books, which I think is Charles Soule, I think, changes the way you watch the movies. Like if you read those comics and then go back and watch A New Hope, you're watching that differently all of a sudden. Like, and I think that's pretty fun. And then for more independent stuff, slightly more independent stuff, Mike Allred did a book a little while ago from Dark Horse called, what was it? X-Ray Robot, which was just pure Mike Allred, just had random 3D scenes and giant robots and awesome characters. And then there's a book called, a book from Elliot Kalin, who's a writer for Mystery Science Theater. And he did a kind of Friday the 13th knockoff for Aftershock Comics called Maniac of New York, which is super fun. And Elliot Kalin does a podcast called The Flophouse, which a lot of people know. And again, writes for Mystery Science Theater. But this is just a real kind of 80s love letter horror comic that I joked that now I'm like, I want to do a Damn Cursed Children Friday the 13th crossover. Because I think it would be so cool to imagine the average Jason story of him going to a camp to kill a bunch of teenagers, but then all the kids at the camp turn into monsters. And then you got the counselors surviving Jason and the monsters, and the little monsters attacking Jason. And I'm like, oh, maybe we could do this through Elliot Kalin, because that's not owned by Paramount, So that's in the back of my brain now.
That's cool.
But we are open to working with Paramount as well.
Oh, yes. That's the next Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. It has been awesome. And for those of you who want to see, here is the cover for the Damn Cursed Children trade paperback that is available at fine comic book stores everywhere, as well as online. And the original, I think this is one of the original print ads, which I really like. This was when it first hit. But yeah, great art, great story. And as the boys have said, it's real, but it's also really freaking scary. So definitely you want to check that out. Guys, where can they find you or follow you online?
Cool. Good question. I am on Twitter as, what the hell am I on Twitter? Howard Wong and number 1. They're at the real Howard Wong on Instagram. Facebook is also Howard.Wong1, the number 1. So those are the 3 places you can find me. And I have a blog. It's howard-wong.blogspot.com, which has all my writing crap that I can talk about, not the work stuff I just mentioned before, which I can, as well as the links to my social media stuff as well. And for Josh.
Perfect. And you, Josh.
I am not superb at social media for myself, but strangely enough, I do the Mayfair social media. So on Twitter and Instagram, that's just at Mayfair Theater. I'm on Facebook at Bat Turtle. And then my Instagram, which I barely use except to plug comic books, is Bat Turtle _Mayfair, because I wasn't quick enough and some other Bat Turtle beat me to the punch.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much. And for those of you who are tuning in, please like, subscribe, as well as hit that bell for notifications. And if I can make a shout out to all our people that are watching in Canada, definitely hit that subscribe button, because some of our analytics are showing that we've got more people tuning in from our neighbors in the South. So thank you to all our American watchers. But hey, we're in Canada. Let's get some Canadian content representation. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day.
Bye.